It is the 80s Experience on FM 88.5 KSBR with J.J. Buchanan. He was a part of one of the most amazing bands to come out of Southern California during the late 1980s, I should say the early 1980s, and not to mention a stellar solo career, lead singer and multi-instrumentalist, Mr. Stan Ridgway of Wall of Vodoo. Stan, what's happening?
Is there a horn arrangement that can trumpet my appearance here?
Your entrance?
Yes.
You know what? You never know. I might come up with something. You never know.
Okay, good.
Too funny. And Stan, you were born in Barstow, California, right?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and who were your major musical influences growing up here in Southern California?
Gosh, well, of course, I guess kind of pre-Beatles, I had a lot of folk music around the house. So things I listened to were, I don't know, there were things I didn't know who they were. There were banjo players and acoustic guitar players and things like that. And I guess, but kind of blues and cowboy songs. One of the first songs I remember being fascinated with was Marty Robbins singing the song El Paso.
Absolutely. One of the first number one hits of the 1960s.
Yeah, and that was something that said to me, I guess that's a song. A song is like a movie.
And how did you guys come up with the band name Wall of Vodoo? I know there's an interesting story behind that, Stan.
Well, we searched for a name for quite a while, and the Wall of Vodoo name was really kind of a joke between a friend of mine and myself for what certain things sounded like when I recorded them on this old 2-track tape recorder I had, where I would overdub back and forth all these rhythm machines from old organs and pawn shops and stuff, and the Rhythm Ace from Kalamazoo, Michigan, and they had buttons on there like Mambo and Samba, and you put these all on at the same time and then turn them up all the way and then make 3 or 4 tracks of that. And I would turn and say, man, this sounds like Phil Spector's Wall of Sound, And my friend said, oh, no, it's more like a wall of voodoo.
All right, okay. And Stan, I mean, the band's sound, the band Wall of Vodoo, their sound was like no other. I mean, you guys were mixing, like you were saying, different drum machines, experimentations all over on all different levels, including, different, kitchen utensils. I mean, how were you really inspired to come up with that true sound for the band?
I was really coming from a place that was more, for want of any better word, I guess, kind of an avant-garde background. I mean, I was more of a jazz guy when I saw punk kind of open up. To me, it just said that there was a crowd of about 50 or so people that wanted to hear original music. Now, before that, you had to have a recording contract to play anywhere in Hollywood. You had to, there were many rules and things like that, and
right.
And this to me was just like, gee, I mean, there's a crowd there that wants to hear something original. I was a big listener of like Miles Davis and Bitches Brew and all kinds of rhythmic experiments and things like this. And at the same time, I was very much a listener to Ennio Morricone's Western soundtracks for all the Clint Eastwood pictures and the guitar sounds and things like that. And it just started to kind of evolve into a kind of collage of those influences,
Okay, and Stan, it's so funny. It's not funny, but it just brought me back. I was on YouTube the other day doing some research on this interview, and I saw a clip of you guys doing a live rendition of Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire. How did you personally come up with the choice to make that, to record that tune for your first album?
It was a song that I always sang. I mean, I'd sung it from, as a teenager, I guess, or late teens or something. I'd played it in bar bands and things like that. And it was our habit to get together in a room and just kind of plug in a lot of these electronic things that we were fooling with different types of adapters and things like that we'd buy from Radio Shack and go, well, why don't we just plug this in there and see if we can blow this up, or get something out of it that it's not supposed to sound that way. And at one point we plugged something in and it started to make that low bass sound that's part of the Ring of Fire cover. And I immediately went, oh, God, this is something we really have to, remember. And how are we going to remember this? And I thought, well, let's just, what's a 3-chord song that I know right now that I can just put on the tape recorder here with this sound? Ring of Fire came to mind. So it was that, and then once that was there, I said, oh, this is as anything goes when you just kind of start to create something. It was kind of like, well, a happy accident turns into like, good idea, glad I thought of it. You don't know where these things come from. It just happened to kind of be that, and it turned into the cover that was Ring of Fire.
Awesome, Stan. Awesome. And one of my personal favorite albums, I know you guys did a couple albums under the Wall of Vodoo band name. I always loved the sophomore album, Dark Continent. I always loved that album. And the opening track to that sophomore album was one of my personal favorite songs was Red Light. How did you come up with the concept for Red Light?
You really make me think here, Jeremy, about how all that happened. And quite honestly, I have to say, I would probably be making something up about how it happened. It just certainly happened. There were things in the air at that point that worked its way into the music and the lyrics and things like that. And Red Light seemed to be about some sort of impending deal going down that was rotten. And I don't know, it was kind of during a lot of kind of Reagan marching in. They wanted Carter out at that point, I think, if I'm correct, or was it Reagan's time? I'm not even sure. But there was a lot of, it was kind of the start of kind of the me generation that was up in the news a lot, and I think Red Light had a lot to do with that. So.
Okay, and tell me the story, Stan, behind the great tune Mexican Radio.
Well, that was a song that was kind of put together in little bits and pieces at first. It was really, us in my car going to rehearsal a lot and trying to find the Mexican radio stations on the radio at that point. I think Wolfman Jack was still broadcasting. So we tried to find that because he would have a station over the border and stuff. And so when we'd find those stations, we would go, oh, look, I'm on a Mexican radio. Good.
Huh, okay, awesome.
And so that became kind of like, okay, we're going to rehearsal. I'm on a Mexican radio.
And then I know Wall of Vodoo kind of disbanded, and you guys all kind of went your separate ways. And then you had the opportunity to get together with Stuart Copeland from the Police to record the tune "Don't Box Me In." How did you meet up with Stuart?
Stuart was a fan of the band when we would go to England and would come to the shows then, and I met him there. And so when he got the call from Hollywood to do that soundtrack, they also needed a song. And he called me up and said, "Hey, would you want to do this song? It's about this book." So I read the book, and I remember being on the road with Vodoo at that point and going, "Well, what is this?"
Mm-hmm.
When it came time to do the song, I really had more of a slower. It was the song as you hear it now, but it was slower. And once I got to the studio, all I can say is that Stuart was filled with 80s energy. May I say. It wasn't snowing outside, but it might have been inside. And we both built a few snowmen that day.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, it certainly upped the energy for what we were doing, the two of us together there.
Uh-huh.
And the song, developed in about a day or a day and a half, and it was done.
And when you released your first proper solo album, the Big Heat in 1986, how was the tune Camouflage discovered?
You mean discovered by me?
Yeah, like how did Camouflage come about?
Thinking back now, Jeremy,
Mm-hmm.
I'd actually had this piece of music for a while, that seemed to kind of tell a story without any words, And as things go, you just I forget, one night out came the first line, which was, I was a PFC on a search patrol. And I thought, we're opening up to something here. And as anything, you just kind of, open it up and let it follow itself down.
And I know, Stan, over the last 25 years, you have built an amazing solo career and done a bunch of film scores. What are you currently working on these days?
Well, a new record came out, I think in June of this year, called Mr. Trouble.
Mm-hmm.
You can get that anywhere, in the physical form or the digital form, anywhere you might go. You can also get it at my website, stanridgway.com, and that's probably the best place to get it.
Yes, it is, absolutely.
And at the moment, we're booking shows for next year, and we're going to Australia next year, and doing some places we haven't been in a while that are in the works, and I've just been using the time to write another record. So, maybe we'll see another record in springtime.
Okay, cool. Very, very cool. And I know Mr. Stan Ridgway going to be performing live January 17th at the Coach House in San Juan Capistrano. Mr. Stan Ridgway, thank you so very much for being a part of the 80s Experience tonight. I really appreciate it.
Hey, well, Jeremy, thanks for thinking about us.